Welcome back. I'm so excited that you decided to join me today because we've got a good topic to dive into. This is something I get asked about a lot. It's something that I find sabotages a lot of people. It's something that can sometimes, no matter how well you are doing with healthy eating or making healthy choices, this can be the thing that can derail you. This can be the thing that sinks you. It's probably something you have done. It might be something you do really regularly, and that's why we're going to dive into it today. Are you wondering what it is? Can you guess? What we're talking about today is all or nothing thinking, right? You know exactly what this is. This is if I don't do everything perfectly, what's the point, right? Or if I make one choice I'm not thrilled with, I've already blown it all. What's the point, right? I might as well eat everything else. And this way of thinking is so problematic, and it is sabotaging us, and it is derailing all of our best efforts to stay on track with healthy eating. And so it must be addressed. And that is what we're going to do in this video today. And I'm going to give you a 3-step solution that you can go immediately to as soon as you notice yourself falling into all or nothing thinking, okay? After you watch this video, I hope you'll watch it all the way to the end so you get all 3 steps. I want you to remember it every time you catch yourself thinking, well, I already ruined everything. I might as well, what's the point? I might as well eat it all, right? I want you to think about these 3 steps that we're going to talk about in this video, okay? This is going to be your new go-to, your new tool, and going to prevent you from sabotaging yourself, all right? All right, let's dive into it. Okay, before we get into what to do when we encounter all or nothing thinking, I just want to take a step back and just unpack this a little bit and just explore what is all or nothing thinking all about? Why do we do it so often? Why is it so pervasive? You know, I hear this from people who are at all different walks of life, who have all different health goals. I hear this all the time, right? That I'm my own worst enemy. I get caught in this all or nothing thinking. So why do we do it? What's it all about? Well, another term that psychologists use to describe this all or nothing thinking is what the hell effect, right? They call it the what the hell effect. And what that means is, and you've probably experienced this, is, you know, you eat one thing that you're not happy about, right? Maybe you overindulge a little bit. And the first thing that pops into your head is, what the hell, right? I've already blown it. I might as well just eat everything, right? You've probably done this. And this is the interesting thing, and this is why we need to just drill down in this a little bit, because we have to understand what is it about all or nothing thinking, or about this what the hell effect, that drives us to continue to make poor choices, right? Isn't it odd that our solution to making a not so great choice is just to make more not so great choices? And it's because the problem here isn't the initial not so great choice that we made, right? It's not the initial setback. That's not the problem. The problem is the feelings of shame and guilt and frustration and loss of control and hopelessness and anger with ourselves that we attach to that initial setback. Those feelings are what is triggering our desire to eat more, right? Because, as I've talked about in many other videos, when your brain feels uncomfortable feelings, its immediate reaction is to want to go to something that is going to make it feel better. And what is the cheapest, fastest way for your brain to feel better? Well, for many of us, it's food, right? And it's not apples and broccoli, right? It's usually sweets and processed carbohydrates and whatever junk food we can find. So it's really important to recognize that it's not the initial setback that is the problem, right? Sometimes we focus on that and we think, oh, I'm just all or nothing thinking. So if I make any mistake, then I just, I think if I don't do it all perfectly, I might as well just not do it all at all. That is true, but the reason is not because of the setback itself, but because of the feelings that it triggers in us, okay? And it is your brain's response to those feelings that has you just diving into the ice cream or driving through the drive-thru or just completely deciding to, eat all the things. So that means that when we're thinking about a solution, a way to get us out of this all or nothing thinking, the path out, we need to think not about the setback itself or the fact that we made that choice to eat that thing, but rather how can we manage these uncomfortable feelings, because those are the troublemakers. All right. So I want to share with you 3 steps that you can take. Okay. And I want you to think about this. Maybe you want to jot it down, grab a piece of paper if you want, take out the notes app on your phone. I'll wait a minute because you're going to want to jot this down, because you're going to find yourself at some point going to all or nothing thinking, or having that what the hell effect triggered, right? You're going to eat something that you're not thrilled with. You're going to make a choice that wasn't on the plan, and you are going to feel those feelings of guilt and shame and anger, and you are going to immediately want to go eat more. And when that happens, my friend, I want you to think about these 3 steps, okay? Are you ready? All right, let's go. Okay, step number 1 is to take inventory. And what I mean by that is I want you to sit down. You don't have to sit down, but just in your mind, you might be, because you might be anywhere. You could be in the car, you might be at a work thing, you might be on vacation, you might be on your couch at night, whatever. Wherever you are, I want you to take inventory. I want you to take a moment to consciously stop and make a list. Again, you could do this pen and paper, or you can just do it in your head, whatever works for you. But I want you to make a list somehow of all the great choices you did make. Okay? Now, the reason for this is because we have to counteract something that's called negative bias. And what I mean by negative bias is that your brain, all of our brains, have a tendency to focus on the negative, right? It's why we can't stop looking at the car accident on the side of the road. It's why we notice the negative news stories more than we notice the positive news stories, right? Your brain is wired to notice the negative, in part because that's what keeps you safe, right? It's good to notice the negative because that could mean danger, and thus our brains are hardwired to notice the negative. But psychologists call this negative bias. And what it means is that we do tend to focus on the negative, right? We can tend to be glass half empty if we don't consciously take ourselves in a different way. So when it comes to negative bias around our own choices around food, we tend to focus just on the negative. Oh, why did I eat that? Why do I keep doing that? Why do I have no control around this food? I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to say no to these things. I'm never going to be able to get in control, whatever. You focus on the negative. It's very natural. It's very human. But we have to counteract that, okay? Because it feeds into this all or nothing thinking. It feeds into this what the hell effect, right? Because when you just see the negative, it makes you feel awful, and that makes you want to eat more. So we have to do the opposite. And that's why step 1 is to take inventory. I want you to make a list, again, whether it's on paper or in your head, of all the great choices that you did make, because you definitely made lots of them, right? If you ate the bowl of potato chips, well, maybe you didn't eat the whole bag. If you ate the whole bag, well, you didn't drive to the store and get another bag, right? There's something. There are good choices that you made. If nothing else, you are conscious. You are thinking about this. You are aware, right? Amazing, right? These are all great things. So make a list of all the great choices you did make, okay? Just to counteract that negative bias, just to force your brain to realize that all is not lost, right? That you actually have made some good choices, that you are somebody who still does make healthy choices. And even if it's not in this instance, did you make a healthy choice earlier in the day? Did you make a healthy choice yesterday? The answer is yes, right? Even if you just had a glass of water, even if you just, took your dog for a walk, you've made some healthy choices. Look for those. Take inventory, make a list, force your brain to see that it's not all doomsday and gloom. All right? So step 1, take inventory. Okay, step 2 is to practice forgiveness. All right? Remember how I talked earlier about how the reason that we struggle with all or nothing thinking, the reason that the what the hell effect can sabotage us, sink us, is not because of the initial setback, not because of the not so great choice that we made initially. That's really not that big a problem. Where the problem lies is in all the negative feelings that we heap on top of ourselves, right? The guilt, the shame, the hopelessness, the embarrassment, the anger at ourselves, right? That is the problem. That is the danger. And so the perfect antidote for that is self-forgiveness. There's a fascinating study that really illustrates this point that was done by 2 psychologists named Claire Adams and Mark Leary. Now, they did a study where they took a group of women who were all working to lose weight. And they split the study into two parts. One, they said, was about, they were studying around something around how food affected mood. And the other part of the study was one where they were working on just doing sort of a taste test on different kinds of candies and which people preferred more. So what they had them do was they had the women in the first part of the study, where they were supposedly studying food and mood, they had them eat donuts. And they asked them to eat the donut very quickly. In 4 minutes or something, they had to eat a whole donut, and they were supposed to drink an entire glass of water. Now, the purpose of this part of the study was not really to study food and mood, but rather to make the participants feel sort of uncomfortably full, right? They ate this donut really quickly, and then they drank this water. They felt very full. In the second part of the study, they were supposed to test all different kinds of candies. There was M&Ms and peppermint patties and Smarties and Skittles and all kinds of different candies. And they were told that what they were doing was to just learn a little bit more about, or the purpose of the study was to learn a little bit more about what kind of candies people preferred. And so after the donut part of the study, they were taken into the candy room and they were told that they could eat and enjoy as many candies as they want, taste them all, taste as many as they needed, and then score them from 1 to 10, which did they prefer. Now, of course, that's not what any of this study was about, right? What they really wanted to do was see how guilt and shame affected people's food choices. So what they did was, after the donut part of the study, they separated these women into two groups before the candy part of the study. And one group was given a message where they were told by the researcher, they said, you know what, we've heard that a lot of people who do this study, they feel quite guilty about eating that donut so quickly. And we just want you to know that it's really not a problem, right? It's everyone indulges sometimes. It's not that big a deal. And we just really want you to just, don't feel bad about yourself at all. It's no big deal. It's one little donut, right? The other group was given none of this message. They were just sent into the candy room. Now, again, remember, in the candy room, they were told that they were studying which kind of candy they preferred. And so they were told to eat as much as they like and just rate them from 1 to 10. Now, what is fascinating is that after the two groups of women were in the candy room, they weighed the candy bowls to see how much they'd eaten. And what they found was that the women who were given the message about self-forgiveness, about don't beat yourself up about the donut, they ate an average of 28 grams of candy when they were taste testing. The other group, who were given no such message about self-forgiveness, they went straight from the donut and the water into the candy room, they ate an average of 70 grams of candy, more than double. Interesting, right? And what's fascinating is that, again, the only difference was that the group that ate less than half the amount of candy was given this message about self-forgiveness. And it just shows you the power of how forgiving yourself, letting yourself off the hook, being compassionate and gentle with yourself can immediately reduce the power of those feelings of guilt and shame that can come from that initial setback, that initial choice that you made that you're not thrilled with. The power of self-forgiveness is enormous in sort of deflating this all or nothing thinking, this what the hell effect, right? It can immediately put the power back in your hands and help you make a choice next. What will be the next step that you will take that is supportive, that is healthy, that is nourishing, rather than, oh, I've ruined it all, I've blown it all, I might as well just keep going. Okay? So I really want you to think about this. This is step 2, practice forgiveness. Okay? Have a little pep talk with yourself. Give yourself a little love. Think about, what would you say to a good friend who had made a similar choice, right? Who had had a similar setback. Would you tell her, oh, well, you've ruined everything now. You might as well just eat everything. You've completely blown it. Is that what you would say to a friend? No. Think about how you would speak to a friend if she called you and she said, oh my goodness, I'm so mad at myself. I ate this thing and it's completely not on my plan and I'm so mad at myself. What would you say to her? And see if you can have that little talk with yourself. Okay? So step 2, practice forgiveness. All right. And that brings me to step 3, which is to choose a baby step. Something I see people doing all the time, and I've talked about this before, is thinking too big when it comes to trying to create a healthy lifestyle. We make these big statements. I'm going to give up sugar. I'm going to give up processed carbohydrates. I'm never going to go to the drive-thru again, right? Whatever. And of course, it makes sense at some level. It sounds great, but it's not realistic. And it also goes against the way your brain is naturally wired. Most of our human brains do not love change. And so when you decide that you're going to make these huge changes and that it's all or nothing, right? It's black and white. It's I'm going to do this always, or I'm going to do this never. This is too big, and it can be terrifying for your brain, right? Because it's just your brain doesn't like big changes. It feels dangerous to your brain, right? It's the unknown. And so we have to avoid, wherever we can, doing things that go against the way our brain is naturally wired. It's always going to make it harder than it needs to be. So what your brain likes is baby steps. And again, I know it doesn't feel as big and sexy and maybe as immediately satisfying, but I promise you it is the path to true long-term change that is sustainable, that is consistent, and that feels a whole lot easier. So when you get caught up in all or nothing thinking or this what the hell effect, oh, I made this, I did this, I've blown it, I might as well do all the things, I want you to think about how you can choose just the next baby step, right? What's just the next little choice I could make from where I am right now, having made this choice, having had this setback, whatever it is, what's just one little baby step I could take from here? Right? Maybe it's just doing these 3 steps, right? Taking an inventory of the great things I did do, practicing forgiveness, right? And maybe that's your baby step, right? Just doing that. Maybe it's just something as simple as pouring yourself a glass of water. Maybe it's just lying down on the floor and taking a few deep breaths to kind of come back into the present moment and get yourself out of that headspace. Maybe it's thinking about, okay, well, what's my next meal? Maybe next meal is lunch or dinner. What could I maybe have for that meal that might, get me back on track a little bit? So those are your 3 steps. The next time you see yourself falling into all or nothing thinking or having that what the hell effect start to take over, okay? I want you to, step 1, take an inventory. Make a list, either on paper or in your head, of all the great choices you have made recently, today, yesterday, right? All the great things you have done. Get out of that negative bias and force your brain to see that you have made some great choices. Second, practice forgiveness, okay? The power of forgiveness is huge because, again, it's not the setback that is the problem. It's all those feelings of guilt and shame and anger that we heap on ourselves. That is what triggers more unhealthy behaviors. So the best way out of that, the best antidote is self-forgiveness, being compassionate and sweet and gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who had made the same choice, all right? And then choose just a baby step. What's just a baby step? What's just a little thing you could do right now to start to move yourself in a better direction? Okay? All right, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below, do you fall into all or nothing thinking? And if so, which of these, do you think these 3 steps will be helpful? Will you be able to use them? Which one resonates with you the most? And also, this all or nothing thinking business that we've been talking about here in this video is one of the things we really have to stop doing if we want to start staying consistent with healthy choices. I have another video that I really encourage you to watch next where I dive into some others. I have a video here, I'll post it here, all about 5 things you need to stop doing if you're going to stay consistent with healthy habits. All or nothing thinking is one of them, but there are others. And if you want to learn some more of them, watch this video next, okay? And if you haven't done so yet, it would really help me out if you would give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Maybe hit that little bell to get the notifications every time I post new videos. I post new videos on the channel every week where I talk about different ways that you can begin to reprogram and rewire the way your brain thinks about food, your habits around food, your patterns around food, so that staying on track with healthy eating and healthy living starts to feel so much more easier, starts to feel like your new normal. All right? Okay, awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me. Take care, and I will see you right back here next week.